Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
One of Albert Einstein's greatest quotes is this: "There are two things that I know to be infinite, the universe and human stupidity." But I'm not sure about the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't think the universe is infinite, and then it comes to a stop.
No. Yeah, but what's the second one?
Human stupidity. There's no limit. Yeah, I'd say that's true. The existence of
Well, just like human stupidity can be completely infinite.
Yeah, but on an individual basis.
Yes, that's true.
However, I'd like to say that I think Nikola Tesla is way smarter than Albert Einstein. I know that's like side topic, but
yeah, whatever. I don't know that much about either of their fields of work, so I can't make a comment.
You gotta look into Tesla, man. We wouldn't have anything without that man. We wouldn't have cell phones. We wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't say we wouldn't have it, but it would have taken way longer. Our progression in technology would have been stunted heavily. He created alternating current, which is like what everything, all the power and electricity in the entire globe right now runs off alternating current. Every time you plug something into a wall.
Wow.
Yeah. And also radio waves, I believe, which is where they got the idea to create cell towers and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla's the man, dude. He's not talked about enough.
Oh, there are people throughout history that aren't talked about enough.
True.
Yeah. Like, I feel like we're starting to really forget the events that really make up our history, especially when you look at the modern day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, people like we're starting to cut out a lot of things from our curriculums. Hell, there are even some people who want things like the Holocaust to not be taught in curriculums. It's fucking horrible.
Well, not ask.
You cut out.
Mine.
Is your mic working, or?
Oh.
I heard the hello.
What about?
Oh, okay. Yeah, seems good enough now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, like, how much can you fit into a curriculum? I don't think you should take out the Holocaust, but
no.
I mean, there's a lot of other
like
mass genocides that are not in the curriculums. It's like, how many can you fit?
Oh no. One argument that I've heard, and I agree with this, is that that the gulags actually killed more than the in concentration camps, and that one sec. Oh man, I can't. Let me look up.
You said the gulags, and who exactly is that?
Yeah. Sorry?
Who are the gulags?
The gulags are the forced labor camps that Stalin, that he built.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those.
I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure no one hears a tanking is going to try and defend that.
Yeah, no.
No, okay, if you defend anything like the gulags or the concentration camps, I will straight up call you either a maniac if you're defending the gulags, or a racist if you defend the concentration camps. I don't care if you defend it, you're either racist or you're an idiot.
Just as a useful label, the ones that are defending the gulags are usually what are referred to as tankies. Stalin apologists.
Okay, well
those exist in a group.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
of course, there are going to be people who apologize. Of course, there are going to be people
on
who
the far
justify
left. There's a bunch of commies who kind of go for that. Well, no, like and comms aren't tankies, but there are a bunch of commies like authoritarian commies would are tankies generally, and they're very apologetic for the Soviet state, I guess. and Mao
Yeah.
and other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now may I ask you something? What does NCOM stand for?
Anarcho-communism.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's just I
Oh, yeah,
I know
probably-
I know the terms.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not one myself.
I actually wanted to say something on that because you were talking about Stalin. Are you familiar with the Bolsheviks as well? Is that
Yes.
like the gulags? Are they the same thing, or
Wait, what do you mean?
the Bolsheviks in Russia?
Yeah, I know of the Bolsheviks in Russia.
So are you familiar with like how many people they killed as well?
I'm actually not familiar with how many people the Bolsheviks killed. No. Oh wait, no, like, I thought you meant the people that the Bolsheviks fought against. No, it's estimated roughly, bloody hell, 20 to 50 million. But we don't actually have the exact numbers.
Yeah.
Like they killed at least 6 million with the like forced like, what's the word? Let's, I won't try to sound elegant. The forced taking of crops.
Yeah, and can I say, so this is something, this isn't like an arguing point or anything like that. This is just something interesting since we're talking about this. My great grandma, who migrated to the United States, she came from Russia, and in Russia, she was in a big family, 6 brothers and sisters, and their family owned the most land out of any family in the entire country of Russia. The Bolsheviks marched in there, took the land, slaughtered my grandma's entire family. Somehow, she managed to make it out alive, got onto a boat where a bunch of escapees also made it to, and then she ended up in, I don't remember what other country. Eventually, she made it to America. But yeah, it's like something that I'm personally affected by is the Bolsheviks. They stole everything from my family.
Well, the main thing was, like, it was a gigantic revolution, and there were reasons for the revolution. And yeah, like, I'm not going to defend like them slaughtering your grandmother's entire family
And stealing the largest amount of
Okay, but like
in the country.
you can point to individual examples of like there were several basically separate groups operating within like the Russian Revolution, right? And so we can point to individual examples of basically every group committing atrocities. But I believe the point he was trying to make is that like that revolution was basically inevitability. I mean, when you weren't able to do like what England did, where they kind of like peacefully and slowly reformed into a parliamentary system, you were going to have a revolution.
The slow reform wasn't even a factor. It was the fact that the government were literally abusing hundreds of millions of people.
No, I get that. That's my point. Like,
okay,
it was
all right, sorry.
It was an abusive fucking monarchistic autocratic state. Like, the people were going to revolt, but if you can point to almost every revolution in history, bar a few examples, and their atrocities occur, it creates power vacuums, and the people's lives afterward are generally even worse, despite what preceding them being so horrible.
Yeah,
revolutions don't work well.
Yeah,
I mean, the French revolutions.
No, what the French Revolution led to? What? Who got in power after the French Revolution?
That is actually completely fair.
Yeah, like literally the greatest dictator.
Yeah, actually,
history was Napoleon. Until we actually got to World War II, no one did what Napoleon did. So we had to wait until we had, like, Hitler was literally the worst person until Napoleon in Europe.
yeah.
Sorry, Napoleon was so like
yeah,
directly out of the French Revolutions.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
actually, let me look up the huge amount of. Let me look up every major revolution in history.
The only good one, the best example is actually America. However, that was a bit of a different revolution because they didn't actually topple the government. They threw off a government, and so it was a war for their own independence, as opposed to trying to change and dismantle a governmental system. And those kind of revolutions are usually more successful because they didn't actually, because England still exists and America exists, so they did not create a power vacuum, and they stepped immediately into. So there was no. It was a very smooth transition. So there was like no power vacuum system there. with the American Revolution or War of Independence.
Yeah, I think that's a.
Well, and actually, I have a point to make about that. I don't think that you can say that there was a power vacuum when it comes to the Bolshevik Revolution in Soviet Russia, because here's the thing: the power vacuum wasn't created until after Lenin died. And the thing is, people were happy with the revolution until Lenin died, and then Stalin garnered into power.
Agree.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Not every revolution creates a power vacuum, but a bunch of them do.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I thought you were referencing that, and it's my fault.
No, I think Do you think the French Revolution created such an unstable government that it was functionally a power vacuum?
Okay. Yeah. Well, what's his name, anyways? The guy who got beheaded. Like, it wasn't Napoleon. That was
There was a lot of them.
Rubble. It was like Rubble something, I think. Oh boy,
Yeah,
I should remember this.
So the Bolsheviks were fighting for what? For the people of Russia?
Yeah, it was pretty much just the working class in Russia, like, rising up and trying to dismantle the government due to the mass amounts of poor working conditions, the abuse of the government upon the people.
So the fact that my family was of wealth was the reason that they slaughtered them.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. And here's the thing: if your family did treat the people of the working class with respect, then they shouldn't have killed them. But at the same time, they could have toppled your family in with all the other people who were in the higher sectors of society, because of the fact that you were of wealth, and because they were assuming that everybody in wealth was evil.
Yeah, and that's why I feel it's a dangerous ideology to demonize the top 1% in America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I still constantly demonize 1%. Also, give me 1 sec. I'm so sorry, guys.
Where's NSYNC? I need to ask him something. And what happened to the Discord as well? Do you guys see on the right side of the Discord that it's just all blank? Or is that just me?
It's probably all you. I can see the names of everyone.
Okay. I don't understand why that happened. Do you guys have permissions to type in Tavern Text Chat? Or is that...
I can't actually see Tavern Text Chat.
I think it's been deleted.
Yeah, I'll whine at Achilles about it later, if you like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can use any channel to like post things, but...
Yeah, I know, but it's a bit annoying. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to have us. Yeah, I don't think it was nice to have it because, yeah. I mean, if you're in the tavern, you're not necessarily debating like hardcore, so
yeah,
you don't want to post something in the other channel. Yeah. I'm gonna have to reconnect.
Yeah, probably do that. You might even have to like relaunch your Discord.
Yeah, I'll actually just do that. I'll be right back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it didn't even fix it, actually.
Yeah, it might be a Discord problem. You might even have to reinstall it at some point.
Oh my god, no!
Is reinstalling so hard?
No, it's not. I'm just a lazy piece of shit.
I just loved it. I'm just a lazy people. Fuck me.
Well, I mean, I am truthful with myself.
I guess. at the same time, so you said something there. So you can argue that it's bad to demonize the 1%, or like it's dangerous, perhaps. But I think it's also dangerous to just allow people to and take actions without consequences, or allow people to like not be accounted for, right?
I agree with that. I just think that's why I use the word demonize, because I think it's a separate. It's separate from just allowing people to do whatever they want. Like right now, there's a lot of people on both sides in America demonizing certain groups of people.
Sure.
It's a dangerous ideology to demonize any certain thing, unless it's something like murder. Like, if you want to demonize murder, I don't find that to be a bad thing. And murder in its exact definition, you're taking a life without any reason, or whatever the exact definition would be. Not like defending, not killing in general.
Sure,
Obviously.
but that means that like these definitions vary from society to society. Like when someone brought up castle doctrine before, I can't remember who that was. Was that you?
That was if I could see the names, I would remember, but it was.
It's fine, but yeah. And I actually had a discussion about that. Like as an example, we don't have castle doctrine in my country, or we don't really have we have it loosely, but it's a very limited equivalence of what the American castle doctrine is, and we also have what's called reasonable force laws.
Okay, and in reasonable force laws, that's kind of like in Florida we have stand your ground, as in if somebody were to, it's a little bit different in Florida. If somebody runs up and starts attacking you physically, you're allowed to kill them.
No. See, this is the point of reasonable force laws in Australia. You're both discouraged. So it's not necessarily you're not allowed to, but you'd be highly discouraged. And in many cases, that if someone came into your house and you shot them, you'd probably be prosecuted.
I'm back. So sorry about that, guys.
And see,
it would be considered unreasonable force in Australia.
See, and that's something I disagree with. It's also like that in Canada.
Wait. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
I was explaining.
Canada.
I'd rather not talk about the filthy leaves, but
The what?
I'm just saying.
Excuse me, the what?
The filthy leaves, dude.
The filthy leaves.
You know what? Okay, do you live in the United States?
Do you think I do, based on my accent? No, I don't.
Oh, you're an Aussie.
You got it. Wow, someone actually did that.
So how are the emus, by the way? How long until you guys start the second great emu war?
I'll respond to that when you learn how to pronounce the word.
Australia?
No. Emu. It's not moo. It's not with two O's.
I said emu. I said emu.
No,
you said it's emu, not emu.
It's emu.
Okay, emu.
No, emu.
You little... Damn it! I wish you were in the United States right now.
Why?
Listen,
so you could,
in the South, we say
enact castle doctrine on me?
No, so that I could say, we burned down your White House once, we'll do it again.
Oh, shit.
Fun fact, fun fact, a Canadian is the guy who killed the Red Baron. Who's the Red Baron?
Damn,
the most infamous pilot in World War II. A Canadian killed him and outkilled him.
I have to admit, though, Leaf is the best slur. But yeah, no, we were discussing castle doctrine and why in Australia, it's not as strongly held to, and we have reasonable force laws where you can't just kill a person under a perceived threat.
Yeah.
Same in Canada.
Yeah, and that is consistent across most of the Western world outside of America.
Yeah, see, that's something I just really disagree with, man.
Well, here's the thing,
it should be the other way. You should be deterring people from breaking into people's houses. If people know that, hey, it's the law in this country that if I break into this house right here and they have a firearm or whatever else they have, they can just kill me. Do you think that they're more or less likely to break into the house than if they know the law in that country would protect their life if they broke into the house?
Well, protect their life, that's the key thing. In Canada, I can shoot somebody in the arm, like possibly causing permanent damage to it, they can be sent to the ground, and that's still legal. The only thing that isn't legal in Canada is killing somebody based on.
But have you ever been in a situation with firearms and your life being on the line?
Yes.
You have?
Yes,
I've been in situations
I have.
where I've been.
Now I wasn't on the receiving end of it, but I have been in that situation. I would know.
Okay, there's some stuff that was brought up that needs to be addressed. So, like, you made the claim that it will necessarily lower crime, which is incredibly difficult to demonstrate, by the way. I mean, if we start looking at crime metrics, that's not something that is, because one, we'd have to show correlation causation, right? And you're also arguing for a form of what's called punitive justice and vigilantism, and yeah,
not necessarily.
No,
not necessarily.
No. Okay, well then, how is it not punitive?
Okay, well, I'm not arguing the punitive part. I'm like vigilantes. Like, I don't think that you're encouraging vigilantes. Like the amount of times
loosely you are. You're if you're allowing someone to kill someone over a crime.
Over a crime, but see, it's not that broad. It's if someone breaks into your house, what do I have to go off of that person is not a threat to my life or my family's life? How do I know that? And why is it on me? Why is it on me to figure that out?
Well, okay, so you're not can we agree
that you're not required to figure out whether or not it's a threat to your life? Obviously, it's a threat to your life. But so long as you, at least in Canada, I don't know anything about Australia. Well, I do know something about Australia, but so long as you do not kill the person, you can even chop off their leg or something. But so long as you do not kill them, you're completely in the right.
I mean, no, and there are cases where you can kill them in self-defense, right? But you don't require absolute certainty if you have a reasonable degree that your life is under threat. However, the vast majority of people breaking and entering are not actually threatening your life, and you'd have to demonstrate that was actually a reasonable thing to do to actually kill them. It's not difficult to actually incapacitate people. But also you're also speaking of a country, right? So you're also speaking of a country where you're assuming guns. Largely in Australia, people breaking and entering won't have guns. Our gun crime is incredibly low, and their homeowner also will not have guns. So it's a situation where there's basically incredibly unlikely to be guns.
How likely is it that they have
Once again, what's that?
How likely is it that they have a knife?
I could look up I mean, they might have something, but the vast majority of breaking and entering, they actually aren't actually bringing weapons.
Okay.
They're just. I mean, there are cases of it, but yeah, there might be some kind of makeshift club or something. Yeah. It does occur.
Yeah. It's like.
And
it's
you are
like
allowed to defend yourself.
Let's just for an analogy here, right? So let's say I'm in the water and I'm snorkeling, and I notice that there is a bull shark nearby. Not every single time that divers are around bull sharks does the bull shark attack the diver and kill them. However, sometimes they do. So, would you say that if you stay in the water around a bull shark, knowing that there's a possibility for you to get bit, right, or killed, do you think that your life insurance policy shouldn't go through because you decided to stay around in a situation where this shark could kill you and you stayed there anyway? Or
I don't understand the relation.
If you know that, if you're saying that it's highly unlikely, that does not mean impossible. Therefore, how in that moment can you make the decision? How do you make the distinction between the two?
But as I said, we don't. I said, can you agree that we do not require absolute certainty?
Okay. Yeah, I agree that we do not require absolute certainty.
Okay, so as long as a person can demonstrate that they had a reasonable reason to take the action they had in Australia, they're quite protected. We have self-defense laws, right? But there are lots of cases, there have been cases in which a person has been, people have gone far past what they have is been necessary to do to either defend themselves or incapacitate the person.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yes. I also
Like
said
so
that
like
you can
if, if,
invite
if you if
somebody
you've
to your
disabled a
house.
person and then you sit there and fucking break his fucking knees after he's already on the ground, right? Like at what point have you crossed the line? At what point do you like? But also, I guess like with the gun thing, and we don't have guns, right? It's a matter of like in a sense, you're acting as both like a jury and like an executioner in that sense, right? Judge, jury, executioner, and that's why I would invoke that it is basically punitive justice or a form of vigilantism.
Okay. I guess in that regard, I can say that it is some form of it. However, I don't think it encourages like people to become vigilantes. Like this is okay.
So
So
like
in America,
not external vigilantes, but
yeah, not external, but in vigilantism or vigilantism, however you said it, like the extension of the word. Yeah, I can agree that in some forms it encourages that. However, I don't think that it necessarily makes that bad. Now, here's something: in America, if somebody breaks into your house and you incapacitate them, and then you torture them, you'll go to jail. You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, in America, it's honestly pretty much the same here. The only difference is that it's not up to the person who defended themselves to prove that they needed a reason to defend themselves. Like it's up to the court to prove that they didn't need a reason to defend themselves. And that's where I agree with it being like that instead of the other way around.
Well, like the point is, it's that you don't have to necessarily like. I mean, that's the point, right? So you can have a reasonable reason to defend yourself, but then to what degree of force you use is a different question. So if someone literally has no weapon and you pull out a gun and shoot them, in Australia that can be considered unreasonable force. If you shoot with intent to kill.
Okay. Well, how do you prove that somebody shoots with intent to kill?
I guess that's a matter of the courts. Like I can link you to relevant Australian law, but I just know that is what it is. I don't work in the field myself. I know that's like, and I understand that you disagree. Like I've run into this a lot. Like you don't want to accept it. However, I'm sure you can largely agree that it is a matter of fact that this is the largely accepted position across many other Western countries, right?
Yeah, I can agree to that. That's true.
And like if we want to equivocate, kind of loosely equivocate, like societal morality and law, I guess like this is where like I'm a bit of a subjectivist here, but I don't think it's necessary. The American system I wouldn't want, just like you wouldn't want my system, right? Does that make either of our systems objectively better, or does it mean our system is set up for our society?
That's what I think. Yes, that's what I think.
And so I wouldn't argue that you shouldn't have your system, but like I know that Australia is quite unique, where we have incredibly strong customs, and we were able to remove guns from our society and keep them out. We don't have to deal with the kind of smuggling that you have to. We have such tight control of it. What's that?
Now does the UK.
Yeah, and so these other countries which have much stronger border controls and much stronger other things are able to do different policies as a result.
Yeah. Let's see.
So you could argue under ideal conditions, different policies are better, but under different, so it depends on the conditions of the individual state you're talking about, or individual country.
Yeah. So when you said that the UK doesn't have to deal with like gun smuggling, well, that's not necessarily true. That right?
Australia has to deal with it as well, but it's just
every
very minimal.
country has to. But yeah, I'd say it's definitely harder to smuggle guns into Australia than the UK, though.
Well, the main thing is like UK, it's a maritime province, right? Well, maritime states. Sorry, not province.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have connection to land, and so it is a lot easier because of the position of the harbors and everything to like look at goods coming, because you don't have to worry about like positioning guards everywhere. You just have to worry about like where are the harbors? Where can we position people in order to look at these things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's a lot easier for island nations to look over what's coming into their country than it is for bordered countries.
Yeah.
But the main point of contention is that if Ireland decides to have really open borders, then what's going to happen at the UK border? Because they could be getting into Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom. Now, that is a point of contention I will agree with.
Yeah, that's also some reason why I agree with Brexit. Because in an instance like that, if Ireland just decided to have open borders, and then people just started trafficking guns in Ireland and became a cesspool of crime.
Okay, but there are very historical reasons as to why that exists. Hey, hell, historical reasons that were there since my mother was born. She was like 40.
Well, so you don't think that each of those countries should have the individual right to like close their borders from the rest of it?
I think that each of those countries have individual rights to close their borders. But the problem is both individual countries have had separate agreements on that Irish-UK border. Like, right now, the Irish-UK border, like, if you're a member of Ireland, you can just cross the border no matter what. And that's because of very political reasons. If it wasn't for that, then the Irish nationalists would be rejoicing because, oh, Ireland has nationality now. But the people who still feel loyal to the UK while still feeling loyal to Ireland, they would feel absolutely betrayed, and there would be riots in the streets over something like this. There's a lot of history behind what goes on with the UK-Ireland border that a lot of people don't know.
So, just to speak more broadly to that, like you said something about how countries can. So you could argue that a country has a right to close its border, but maybe, but that isn't necessarily an intelligent thing to do when you're operating with. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, actions have consequences, right?
Yes.
So England could do that, but at what cost?
Okay, well, like I was saying, if Ireland became a hub of crime and people were smuggling guns and creating guns, I mean, you have to think about this too. As we go into the future, I mean, you guys know that you could easily just make your own gun. Like, you just need materials and like tools.
Yeah, I know, but this is also like cultural differences, right? So just because things are accessible doesn't mean we choose. This is one of my problems with guns, right? I don't mind guns technically.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with the American idea of guns. That might be an inconvenience.
What do you think the American idea of guns is?
They don't treat them as tools. They treat them as a fetish, like as a culture, and almost as like a fetishization thing.
I would say that's completely false.
That's false.
That's how it appears.
Try to generalize 320
And
million
it
people.
appears like that because that's how it's told to the rest of the world.
One, I didn't actually generalize all of America. I was speaking to America and the gun culture specifically within America, not all Americans.
You said the American view of guns, the American gun culture. That implies all of America.
No, it doesn't imply all of America. It applies to people who are part of that gun culture.
Plus, I've just added nuance to the statement. So, like, what you've actually said was an intent.
It isn't even like a.
I'm not gonna drill down on that. I'm not gonna drill down on that. I'm just gonna, in good faith, like take his. Like what he's saying.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying that all Americans have this view, right?
Yeah, but what I'm proposing to you, my belief is, and from my personal experience of living in America, and I'm someone who owns guns.
Which is fine.
Yeah, my family's always owned guns, and I've always been around people that own guns. Almost everyone I've ever been around in my whole life has owned guns. Now, I've never really been under the impression that we treat them anything other than a tool. My impression has always been that they are a tool to protect your life. If the electricity fails across the country and we need to hunt, we have the tools for that. Not only that, but if you choose to hunt for your food, like my family does, we don't hunt for all of our food. However, we have stockpiles of meat that we use for family events. We make spaghetti and we use deer meat. We have meat like ready to go, frozen. Like if anything would ever happen and all of us were to become broke, or one part of our family just cannot afford food, we will always have food.
Okay, I can understand these things, but I guess my point is like and this might be like, I think this is largely a foreign perception of America. And what I am speaking of is a perception.
Yeah.
Where like I don't know, I speak to people online, right? Or I'm speaking on like my main server and stuff, and he's just telling me he's got 70 guns. And he has an armory and a room of different guns. And then someone came else and they sat there and talked about the different variations, and they have a encyclopedic knowledge on guns.
Yeah.
And to us, that seems like a fetishization of the guns themselves.
Okay. Well, I can agree, but like, so when you speak of it that way, so like, why would they have this, right? Is it because of the ability that these guns have to be a tool in various situations that they even grew this fetish of guns in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Because it had to come from somewhere. Do you think it's meaningless that they have this this ideal about guns, this fetish about them, this, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's meaningless. I think it came from somewhere. I think it's rooted in your culture and history, right?
yeah.
But I think it's very unique to. I think it's largely unique to America. I mean, you could probably find some other cultures around the world that are similar. But I think America has the largest representation of this culture, and you could also equivocate it to just being obsessed with anything, right? It's like being obsessed with cars and like car collectors, or being obsessed with, I don't know, like fucking Pokemon cards or some shit. But
I agree with that.
With guns, I guess the rest of us filthy foreigners, we immediately have a sense of unease about it, because we grew up in societies where no one has guns, or it's intensely. Okay, so maybe not no one, but like
people will have guns.
What?
In a society like that, only the worst people are going to have the guns.
I disagree, but like, so I do know people with guns, right? But I know like 2 people in my entire life with guns.
Okay, well, how about in
3?
How about in like Sweden, where they make rap videos and they have gangs there that have AK-47.
Have no-go zones.
Yeah, but yet they're supposed to have
I can't speak to Sweden.
Well, there's
like,
also
I
London.
don't know
there's
what
also London. In the UK, guns are banned, and in London, I mean, it's like there's many street gangs with fully automatic Uzis and everything else. I mean, they shoot police officers.
Sure, I mean, it does happen, but I would ask them, like, to what degree does this happen? And I mean, we like how much, like, we can look at gun crime, right? Like, we actually need to look at metrics to start making claims about this.
This is my thing. When we look at metrics about this, so I feel like a lot of people want to make the claim that doing something to reduce gun crime is going to reduce overall. Okay, I'm sorry, gun homicide is going to reduce overall homicide. And I would say that it doesn't, and there are metrics to represent this. And I feel as if I don't feel like someone who got killed by a dude with a knife and somebody who got killed by a dude with a gun, I don't feel that they are any different. They are still someone who was murdered.
I'll reference the legal discussion earlier. Different countries have different solutions. I wouldn't actually advocate for taking guns out of America. And in fact, with dealing with gun issues, I see it as a cultural, systemic problem, society problem, as opposed to just takes their guns away, or my guns. Yeah. I don't think that is a healthy way to control, like, to deal with guns, right? Like, there are countries with high degrees of gun ownership that don't have the same gun crime.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the thing is with gun crime in America, it's like it's not carried out by people who go hunting on the weekends, and they went to Walmart and they bought their hunting rifle and they have a 1911 to protect themselves in their truck. Those aren't the people who carry out gun crimes. People who carry out gun crimes are sick individuals. A lot of times, people that carry out mass killings have been under psychiatric evaluation before they even purchase these guns. Sometimes the guns have been purchased illegally. I feel like I feel like we have laws in place to stop a lot of these things from happening, but people just slip through the cracks because we're not doing their job well enough.
But that suggests one. I think that the people committing mass shootings are a minority of actual gun crime. But that being said, my point more is that if people are slipping through the cracks, that is showing a societal failure.
Yeah,
and a systemic problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a systemic problem.
And I would seek to address those things and what's causing that. An example, I think, is the Danish. I think it was the Danish, the Dutch. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was the Dutch or the Danish.
They also have they have guns, right? They have a lot.
No. What I'm saying, but what I was going to reference there is they in the 70s or 80s they instituted things like child mental health programs in their schools, and their schools have like half a dozen psychologists in them, and they basically seek to prevent the problems before they occurred, right? They basically seek to raise the mental health of their population, and they are now downsizing their prisons.
True. And on that, so one of the parents of Sandy Hook has worked with, I guess, the FBI or some form of law in the country to do a program to like basically do exactly what you're saying. You know, try to stop the problem before it happens through identification of like mental health issues. And he's actually, Donald Trump like invited him to talk to him, like to show him, because they've actually proven that they already stopped, like, I don't remember how many mass shootings. It's a few, but I mean, one mass shooting is enough if something will stop it. You know, so I think that is something that's being discussed, and something that is actually, I mean, the president himself wanted to speak to this man. So,
but that's just one thing. Like, there's socioeconomic problems, there's like mental health problems, there's cultural.
But the social economic problem. This is my problem with that. See, I'm a hip hop head. I'm a hip hop nerd. I've always loved hip hop. I listen to every type of hip hop. I understand the struggles. Like, I come from a unique situation, right? So I'm from the South, but I also live in Florida. So there's like a multitude of different people here. While
my
there is a
lot of, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It does suck. It's Florida, whatever. It's a big meme state. But the thing is here, there's a lot of different people. You have the very southern white people, and then you have southern black people, and then you have like the inner city black people, and then you have like the hardcore like Mexicans. They won't even speak English. They think it's like bad for their culture to even speak it. They make fun of white people. Then you have like the other Mexicans who are like more middle class, and they intermingle with everybody, and then it's just like a melting pot. And then there's also segregation. It's a really weird fucking thing that's very difficult to explain. But so as far as what I'm trying to get at is, from my like experiences with a lot of these people, and also being like very versed on hip hop and hip hop culture, which it does stem from the black culture. You've got a lot of these young black kids growing up in homes with only one parent. Single parenthood is almost incentivized in inner cities and in broken towns. You know, it's basically incentivized. Like,
yeah, this is what I was speaking to in terms of systemic problems. There are so many problems that are contributing to this, and you can't just put one thing about it. That'll fix the gun problem.
Well,
it needs to be systemic. It needs to be systemic, systemically addressed.
It does, but also I think it needs to be culturally addressed. And in this sense,
I think that's the same kind of thing.
In the hood, you know, it's a thing of like pride to say that you killed somebody. Like, you know that, right?
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It's fucked up. And it's something that I don't understand why it doesn't get talked about enough. Like, people bring it up, they touch on it, but no one ever really goes into it. And what I want to see is, I want to see more people from the black community really touching on this, and like getting a public platform to spread this too. It's like the incentive to like commit crime to another human being, but like it's even more to do black on black crime. Like, I mean, these people are going around. Some of these people, like in Chicago, have already killed like 5 people of the rival gang and bragged about it on social media every time they do it.
Yeah,
it's just so fucked. And then like it's like I want that to just stop, dude. I really want it to stop, and I think it is a cultural problem. Like hip hop, while I love it, I also hate it. So like I can listen to hip hop and like listen to it, and I can get into that mood and whatever, but then I can also have like the sense of self to be like, I'm an independent mind, and while I like this song and I like putting myself in that mindset for a while, I'm not actually gonna go fucking do an armed robbery on somebody and fucking kill them and then brag about it. Now, in my past, I may have done some of those fucking things, not murder, but I may have done some of those things, and I always feel bad about that, and I really like, I regret a lot of the things and decisions that I made. But I will say that the hip hop culture and the culture it's surrounding it definitely influenced me greatly to do these bad things. And like, while now I'm older and I can listen to it and it doesn't have that same effect on me, I feel like for the kids, it basically brainwashes them. And I want to see like some responsibility from some of these artists. They say like, oh, it's not my responsibility, I'm just expressing myself. But it's like how you express it. You can talk about the violence where you come from. You can talk about the bad things you've done and the bad things you've seen around you. But when you talk about it in a way that you glorify it, and then you've got a young black male who's got no one to look up to, and hip hop is the cool thing, and everyone in school's talking about the newest hip hop song, and that song comes out and it glorifies something like that, it's going to get into that kid's head. It's going to change his perception of the world.
Anyway, sorry, I have to disappear for a bit just to deal with real life stuff. I'll be probably back in 5-10 minutes.
It's all good.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.